Welcome everybody to our second Weather Matters video. Again, I'm joined by James Ashley from the Bureau of Meteorology, and we'll talk about weather stuff. So rainfall in the last week, we had quite a lot of rain in the southwest corner, as we were discussing last week, where the rain was going to fall. We've had a little bit of rain up in the northern agricultural region, but the most rain fell in Margaret River. And there was a tornado in Bunbury on Friday, James. How rare are they?
Yeah, really devastating tornado in Bunbury on about 4 o'clock Friday afternoon. They're certainly rare features, but not unheard of. On average, we get reports of around 5 tornadoes every season between about April, May and October, November in the southwest of the state. So they do occur, but this was certainly at the higher end of the intensity of those systems, and being really small scale features of the weather. Often these tornadoes occur in places where nobody is, or and probably less frequently observed because of that. But really, unfortunately, this tornado formed up over the suburbs of Bunbury and created a lot of destruction. Yeah, really unusual event, and our thoughts are certainly with those people recovering from that.
So this is a plant available soil water map generated by DPIRD. It's a very simple model, and it shows around Hyden they have about 93 millimetres of plant soil water available, and that was from rain in early March. You can also see a lot of browns and reds, so a lot of the Southwest Land Division is actually dry. So over to James to talk about recent conditions.
All right, so on the left there, we've got the rainfall anomalies so far in May. So this is up to the 13th of May, and we can see it's most of the southwest still remains deficit as far as rainfall goes compared to average. So away from the sort of more coastal areas, most places are about an inch down on rainfall so far this month. And closer to the coastal parts, that's 50 to 100 millimetres in a lot of places, still below average now that we're into about the halfway mark of May. We'll look at the outlooks in the next slides, and it looks like by the end of May we may still be deficit and see a May that's below average in rainfall, despite a couple of events that have been quite heavy. Interestingly, the temperatures so far this May have been really significantly warmer than normal, due to that high pressure system that's been sitting in the Bight, directing east to northeasterly winds across the whole Southwest Land Division, and the absence of those really cool southerlies for this time of the year, which would start getting around the back of cold fronts. So that a lot warmer, sort of in the 4 to 6 and above degrees warmer than normal so far for May. That's likely to continue as well, as we'll see in upcoming slides. On to rainfall for the next week. These are the two models we've got showing here. The main thing is the system that's produced some rainfall, sort of Geraldton up to Carnarvon and in through the Gascoyne, is continuing to move east. So there'll be a bit of rainfall over the next 24 hours through central parts of the state. But apart from that, the Southwest Land Division doesn't look like getting much, if anything, over the next 7 days. You can see some rainfall off to the southwest, indication of some frontal activity sort of mid to late next week. But again, that high pressure system that we talked about a lot last week remains blocking those frontal systems and preventing them from pushing rainfall across the Southwest Land Division. So looks like next 7 days at least, very little rain. And if we go to the next slide, Meredith, you can see for the last 2 weeks of May looking below average as well. So going on about that pressure anomaly once again, in the top left-hand corner, you can see much higher than normal pressures across southern parts of WA and across the Southern Ocean. That's an indication that we'll have these persistent high pressure systems preventing those frontal systems from getting to the southwest corner of the state. And last Friday's front was a good example of that. The front was quite strong off to further west in the Indian Ocean, but as it approached the coast, it sort of slipped away to the south, with the frontal system really just impacting the far southwest corner. And interesting, on the bottom left there, we've got the maximum temperature anomaly for those 2 weeks in May, and you can see it remains, because of the dominant sort of easterly pattern we're likely to be in, a lot warmer than normal through most of the state, but particularly through that sort of western half of WA. And the rainfall in general looks like being below average because of that dominant high pressure system.
And this is the outlook for June.
Yeah, so finally, we talked about this last week as well, the breakdown of that really strong, anomalously high pressure that we've been seeing south of the state for so long. It's lasted sort of 2 to 3 months now. You can see for June in the top left image there that it's finally moved away. We've actually got some lower anomalies there. So sort of an indication that we're likely to see more frontal systems being able to penetrate through western parts of WA, and with that bring some much needed rainfall to the southwest land division. And you can see in the outlook for June there, generally sort of pretty close to average, maybe slightly wetter in some places across the southwest land division for June, but certainly not that really strong dry signal we've had this month and previous months.
And this is extending out for the whole of winter.
Yeah, so you can see the anomaly again up in the top left, similar to June. So with that high pressure anomaly sort of retreating, and we've got more lower pressure anomalies over the west of the state. It really is just an indication that frontal systems should be able to penetrate when they come up out of the southern Indian Ocean. And you can see for the whole of winter, it looks like being average, maybe to slightly above average conditions across large chunks of the southwest. A few small areas which may be sort of average to slightly below average on that image there, but generally I'd expect a winter that's a lot closer to what we call normal for winter in the southwest of WA.
And we've had a question from Damien. Thank you for sending your question in. And he specifically would like to look at BINO. So this is the Bureau Access Models outlook for BINO, sorry. And you can see the outlook is actually quite favourable for winter for BINO. So the access model is actually leading more towards wetter conditions. And you can see the skill here with the 3 stars is actually indicating that there's only a 7% chance of unusually dry, which is good news for BINO. It's been quite dry up there. And this is the 5-month outlook. So these are the individual months, and these box and whisker graphs are showing the variability in the access model run. So the models run 99 times a day, and you can see obviously the outlook for May is quite dry, so it's decile 3 to 4 here. That's what that light yellow is, and then for the rest of June, July, August is sitting around average, which is quite good. Hopefully that will come to pass. And then just for looking at other areas of the southwest, we looked at Ravensthorpe. And again, for Ravensthorpe, the outlook from Access is heading for winter. It's actually, again, a little bit wetter than normal. And here you can see the individual months. So hopefully, James, that'll all come to pass, and I'll hand you over.
Yeah, I'm just interested there, Meredith. Where did you get those 5-month forecasts?
So with the on the Bureau of Meteorology web pages, you can look at climate forecasts, and you can actually click on the little eye icon and type in your location. And if you press this button here, once this little box pops up, if you press that button there, it'll give you the 5-month forecasts, which is really handy as well.
Nice.
It also looks at 4 weeks as well. So
for people, if you can't see our mouse, Meredith was showing the top left of the image, there's a bar graph, and the one next to it is the button to press for that longer term outlook.
Yeah, a little wavy button. Thanks, James.
Yeah.
Over to you now for the summary.
All right. Yeah, so just based on what we've looked at and the forecasts and the guidance, looks like May is continuing to be drier and warmer than normal, a continuation of what we've seen already. And that persistent band of high pressure that to the south, which really has prevented any frontal systems from really reaching the mainland with any vigour, that looks like finally breaking down in June. So we expect sort of right at the end of May or into the early part of June, that high pressure ridge to break down and allow these fronts to come through. And longer term, across June and all of winter, looks like rainfall generally is much more closer to what we'd normally expect through the southwest of WA for winter.
Thanks, James. It's some good news there. Just to let the viewers know, there's a dry season. Department have brought in a dry season task force, and so we have a hotline here, the drought response hotline. If you want to ring up anytime, you can have a chat, and if you're after some financial resources, they'll be able to point you in the right direction. And then we also have a series of web pages that you can look at, and we're directing you now to the wa.gov.au drought response pages. And just remember, you can send James and I some questions in if you'd like us to answer your question in the next video, and there's a little QR code here pointing you into the DPIRD pages, and also, of course, the Bureau of Meteorology pages. So thank you once again, James, for joining me on this Weather Matters chat, and hopefully we'll see you next time.
Thanks all.